The Texas Tech Red Raiders are still in Minneapolis after punching their ticket to the NCAA National Championship. Coming up, MCTV's Aditya Sahasrabudhe will have a look at Texas Tech's victory in the Final Four.
The Red Raiders' win should have been a top headline on Saturday, but unfortunately, some Tech fans decided to steal the team's thunder. MCTV's Jay McCauley has the details on a celebration gone wrong right across from campus.
And the Red Raiders aren't the first Texas Tech athletic team to compete in a national championship game. We'll take a trip back in time to remember the biggest win so far in university history.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to a special edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Kristen Soza.
And I'm Uvie Bikomo. For the first time in the history of the men's basketball program, the Red Raiders will be competing for a national championship.
That's right, Uvie. The team is preparing for a showdown with the Virginia Cavaliers after an amazing win over the weekend. MCTV Sports AD Sahasrabudhe joins us now with a look back at the Red Raiders' huge victory.
Thanks, Kristen and Uvie. Saturday night, the men's team competed in their first ever appearance in the NCAA Final Four. Texas Tech took on Michigan State in the US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Red Raiders entered the game as a 2.5-point underdog, but Texas Tech finished with a 10-point win over the Spartans, with a final score of 61-51. The game featured a defensive showdown, with both teams scoring under 25 points in the first half. But in the second half, Tech finally opened things up and increased the lead to 13 points after Matt Mooney hit 3 consecutive 3-point shots. From there, the Spartans kept things close for the rest of the game, but the Red Raiders never gave up the lead. A final 3-pointer by Jared Culver at the 1-minute mark opened the lead back up and secured the victory for Texas Tech. Coming up later, in sports, I'll have another look at highlights from Saturday's game, along with a preview of tonight's national championship. Back to you, Uvie and Kristen.
Thanks, AD. Saturday's win in the Final Four was a huge national story for Texas Tech, but unfortunately, another breaking story took over the headlines in local media.
Tech fans were understandably excited about this weekend's win, but that excitement took a chaotic turn across the street from campus. MCTV's Jay McCauley was on the scene and has more on Saturday's riotous celebration.
The Red Raiders won their basketball game against Michigan State, so I decided to hit up Broadway to see how the students are celebrating. I'm on the news! What was supposed to be a victorious celebration turned into absolute mayhem.
This shit is crazy!
What looked like a scene from the movie Project X turned into reality on Broadway and University.
I mean, we're just trying to celebrate. I apologize, Chris Beard. So, I mean, if we win, it's going to be 10 times worse, but hey, it's out of love and respect. Just bring home that national championship. Just bring home that national championship.
Starting before the game, the Lubbock Police Department had additional resources spread throughout the city in anticipation of large celebrations, which included shutting down a portion of University Avenue. At approximately 10 p.m., a large crowd of several thousand people began to gather in the Broadway area near Texas Tech. It did not take long before the rowdy fans became violent. LPD says damage was limited to a car, a couch, about 10 Lime scooters, and a few city signs. A huge brawl even erupted in the middle of Broadway. It did not take long before officers came in to break up the chaos.
There's scooters on fire. The streets are rioting. The police officers are flying up the racks. We don't give a because guess what? We go nuts. We don't give a they're gonna need to call the whole goddamn SWAT team. Get the because guess what? Baby. We're going to
LPD called the behavior by the crowd extremely dangerous and disappointing. The statement goes on to say behavior like this will not be tolerated. We want Red Raider fans to support the team and celebrate lawfully.
It was overwhelming.
Honestly, I'm surprised it took him so long to get here.
It's fair.
It's overwhelming. It's fair.
Yeah.
But you know what? Stuff happens.
Everything was going too wild. I think they tried to control it pretty
We got to
well, so-
celebrate. This is history we're making right now. It's history in the making. Let's go, baby. 4-1.
As the reality of what happened Saturday night set in, some fans began anticipating what could happen on Monday night.
If this is us making it to the finals, what the is Monday gonna be? Sorry for the language, but what the is Monday gonna be?
They're going to need to close down.
Burn to the ground.
They're going to need to close down Broadway.
Burn to the ground. Bark my words.
Throughout the night, fans said they believe the men's basketball team will bring home the NCAA championship.
They kill it in every single thing that you look at. So, I mean, how can they not absolutely win the national championship?
As you can see by this rambunctious crowd behind me, the fans here believe that we will bring that national championship home back to Lubbock, Texas. So stay tuned for the outcome of Monday's game. Reporting on Broadway for MCTV, I'm Jay McCulley. Back to you guys.
As of this morning, no arrests or injuries have been reported in connection to Saturday's celebration. However, the Lubbock Police Department did put out a statement yesterday through social media that the incident is being investigated and charges may eventually be filed against the individuals involved in property damage that occurred that night.
Following Saturday night's event in the Broadway area, many local officials and groups have taken to social media to speak out against the actions of Tech fans during the post-game celebration. Many of those posts specifically targeted students and the Texas Tech and the way the actions have represented Lubbock as a whole. In response, the university officials provided a statement to the media yesterday morning. The statement says, quote, "This is a historical achievement in Texas and the university's history and a great source of pride for all Red Raiders. As we continue to celebrate, we must do so in a way that does not diminish this incredible moment. Texas Tech has the best fans in the country, and we appreciate their enthusiastic support and ask that they celebrate with integrity, positive energy, and respect." The Lubbock City officials also responded to Saturday's events in a statement yesterday afternoon. That statement referred directly to the incident on Broadway and says the crowd engaged in extremely dangerous and disappointing behavior, including vandalizing property. We are proud and excited for Texas Tech, but behavior like this will not be tolerated. We want Red Raider fans to support the team and celebrate lawfully and responsibly. In light of Saturday's incident, the city of Lubbock and Texas Tech held a press conference earlier today to address the safety plan for tonight's national championship game. The main change from Saturday is the city will close University Avenue from 4th to 19th Street and Broadway Avenue from Avenue U to University starting at 6 p.m. The city urges drivers to find an alternative route if their commute includes these streets.
Much like Saturday night, many local businesses are planning to host watch parties for tonight's national championship. And this time, Texas Tech is getting in on the action. Yesterday evening, the athletic department officially announced a national championship game watch party at the United Supermarkets Arena. The watch party features free admission, and attendees will have a chance to watch the game on the arena's high-definition Jumbotron or on one of the many monitors located around the facility. Doors will open for tonight's watch party at 7 p.m. and seating is first come, first served. The USA's concessions will also be open during the event, and the university's clear bag policy will also be in effect. For more information on tonight's watch party, just visit texastech.com.
With the success of the men's basketball team over the last few weeks, many longtime Texas Tech fans have been reminded of another national championship run 26 years ago. On April 4, 1993, the Texas Tech Lady Raiders defeated the Ohio State Buckeyes to win the women's national championship. The victory put Texas Tech on the map and gave the university its first and only national title in a team sport. The win also started a professional career of Hall of Famer Sheryl Swoopes and made head coach Marsha Sharp a local legend. Following the victory, the team took part in a parade through downtown Lubbock that ended in a public celebration at Jones Stadium. It is estimated that as many as 40,000 fans attended the victory celebration. Although no official plans have been released, it is assumed that the Red Raider basketball team will be giving a similar celebration if they win the national championship tonight in Minneapolis.
Although the Red Raiders' victory in the Final Four was the biggest historic moment to come out of this weekend, another event on Saturday night also marked a bittersweet entry in Texas Tech history. This past weekend, the 77th annual ABC Pro Rodeo was held in the Lubbock Municipal Coliseum. The rodeo was held nightly from Thursday through Saturday, but on Saturday, the rodeo's final performance of the weekend was also the last event to ever be held in the Coliseum. Last year, Lubbock residents voted in favor of a proposition to abandon the Coliseum and auditorium, returning the property to Texas Tech. For many years, the Coliseum served as the home of the Texas Tech's men and women's basketball teams until the construction of the United Supermarkets Arena in 1999. Both teams had several historic seasons in the Coliseum, including the Lady Raiders' 1993 national champion season. Demolition of the Coliseum and auditorium is scheduled to start later this week, but future plans for the site are still being finalized. After a few thunderstorms on Friday night, we saw some beautiful weather here on the South Plains this weekend.
That's right, Kristen. It was a great time to go outside and enjoy the spring conditions. But will the weather be as cooperative with any outdoor activities this week? MCTV's Madison Hartin joins us now with a look at this week's forecast. Madison?
Thanks, guys. Well, good news for this week. The term "sun's up, guns up" has a double meaning. Not only are we going to the basketball championship, but the sun is out and it is absolutely beautiful outside. We can see here from our tower cam, and this is how it's going to be for most of the week, that we have a couple patchy clouds out in the distance, but for the most part, the skies are big and blue and beautiful, and I'm all here for it. Looking at our little corner of Texas as a whole, though, we can see that we have fairly warm temperatures coming up this week. It looks like we're going to finally break 90 for the spring, and so winter conditions will be behind us. So our lows are going to be relatively warm too, with our lows mostly being in the 50s, mid-50s, upper 50s. And a little tip for Lubbock and the surrounding counties, though we are not in a burn ban right now, that does not give you the right to burn anything. That includes scooters and couches. You know who you are. For today, our high is going to be about 83 degrees, sunny and very warm conditions, and our wind coming from the south at 10 to 15 miles per hour. That's what's bringing in all the warm weather. And for tonight, the temperature is going to drop back down to about 51 degrees, clear and cool conditions, so that'll be good for partying tonight. If you are, be responsible, and a south by southwesterly wind. For Tuesday, the sun is still going to be out, so while we have class off that day, it's going to be very beautiful. High of 91, low of 60, southerly wind at 15 to 25 miles per hour. For Wednesday, it's going to be a little bit breezy that day, but for the most part, very nice, a little cloudy. And high of 86, low of 41, southwesterly wind, 35 to 50 miles per hour. That's where those wind gusts are coming in. And for Thursday, high of 65, low of 36, and a northwesterly wind at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Weather is going to be great tonight, so definitely get out if you're not planning to, but be responsible, please. We don't need another incident like we had Saturday. Back to you.
Thanks, Madison. Although the Red Raider basketball team is still a few hours away from their chance at a national title, two other Texas Tech teams brought home some hardware last week from another national competition. On Friday, the Texas Tech Pom and Co-ed cheer squads won first place in the National Cheerleaders Association and National Dance Alliance Collegiate Championships. The Co-ed cheer squad brought home their second national championship after winning their first in 2017. The Pom squad won its fourth national title and was crowned national champions for the third year in a row. Both squads competed against teams from around the country, beating out competitions such as BYU, the University of Louisville, and East Carolina University. After last week's competition, members of both the Pom and Co-ed cheer squad traveled to Minneapolis to cheer on the Red Raiders. They will also be in attendance at tonight's national championship game.
The Texas Tech Red Raiders are gearing up for the biggest game in the history of the program.
Tonight's national championship is the last stop on the road for the Red Raiders, but to get there, they had to take out a tough Michigan State squad. MCTV's Aditya Sahasrabudhe joins us again in the studio with another look back at Tech's Final Four performance. AD.
Thanks, Kristen and Uvie. After making their first Final Four appearance, the Red Raiders created history to make it to the finals after handsomely defeating Michigan State 61-51 on Saturday. Legend has said, great offense wins games, great defense wins championship. Perhaps Texas Tech can prove the legend right by bringing home the NCAA championship tonight. This is a chance of a lifetime for Texas Tech to become the story in college basketball, an ultra-rare opportunity for the Red Raiders to be the talk of all sports world. To make the history, Texas Tech will have to get more from their best player, Jarrett Culver, who was uncharacteristically quiet for the first 38 minutes of Saturday's game before hitting big shots late, including a dagger three-pointer with 58 seconds left to give the Red Raiders a 7-point lead. When Culver was shut down for most of the game, Matt Mooney upped the ante by showing everyone that the Red Raiders are more than a one-man show. Mooney was transferred from South Dakota last spring, finished with 22 points and 4 3-pointers. Midway through the second half, Mooney hit 3-pointers in a 2-minute 35-second span that extended Texas Tech's lead from 6 points to 12. What looked like a disastrous night for Tariq Owens after witnessing a horror ankle injury turned out to be one of the memorable nights of his life. Owens injured his ankle during a game that made him hobble off the court. However, he did return to the sideline before the final 4 minutes of the game. Virginia poses perhaps the toughest test of Texas Tech's season thus far. The Virginia Cavaliers and Texas Tech Red Raiders will compete for the national championship tonight in Minneapolis. The game is set to tip off at 8:20 p.m. and you can watch it on CBS. Let us hope the Red Raiders give their best and win it all. History is the ephemeral dice that keeps getting rolled. WWE WrestleMania 35 changed the course of combat sports history when women headlined the grandest stage of all for the first time in history. Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair squared off in a triple threat for both Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. On the biggest night in WWE, 7 of the 9 titles defended at WrestleMania 35 changed hands, with fan favorites taking home both the laurels and the titles. A massive 82,625 fans showed up for the grandest stage, third most in WrestleMania history, that grossed a record $16.9 million from the show at MetLife Stadium. The monster among men, Braun Strowman, not so surprisingly won Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal after making record eliminations. To spice the segment, WWE added SNL stars Colin Jost and Michael Chi to the gig as well. Strowman parried the human hurricane created by Hardy Boys and SNL stars before throwing all of them over the ropes. The Beast incarnate Brock Lesnar was defeated by Seth Rollins in a not-so-fair exhibition. Rollins' back was covered in swollen red blotches after a flurry of suplexes from Lesnar, but that did not stop him from winning the title. After hitting a low blow to change the momentum of the match, Rollins rallied to hit a trio of stomps to defeat Lesnar for the WWE Universal Championship. Lesnar suffered only his second defeat in the past 2 years in WWE, which makes us believe he is taking an extended break from WWE to return to UFC. WrestleMania was indeed the night for the underdogs. After being a loyal WWE servant for more than 11 years, the alleged B-plus superstar Kofi Kingston pulled off an inspiring victory for ages to cap off an amazing bit of storytelling following an unlikely win over Daniel Bryan for the coveted WWE Championship. How does it feel to win the biggest prize for offering when more than 80,000 supporters, your family, and the entire WWE roster is chanting your name? Well, we'll have to ask Kofi to answer that question. The celebration sequence was one of the most memorable in history, as Kingston's 2 sons joined him along with Xavier Woods and Big E in the center of the ring. The historic main event of WrestleMania was an exciting thriller of a contest between Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair. Although the crowd was almost dead after 7.5 hours of the show, the women showed insane amount of intensity to close the night. The closing event had a few sloppy moments, however, victory was at its peak. All the women superstars suffered bruising and lost blood in their bid to win it all. Fan favorite Becky Lynch tapped Ronda Rousey out to win both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship to close the night. Other winners on the night included United States champion Samoa Joe, newly crowned Intercontinental champion Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, and the Usos. WrestleMania 35 also witnessed the return of Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena, Hollywood superstar Dave Bautista, and offered a swan song to WWE Hall of Famer and Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. If you could not watch WrestleMania 35, grab some popcorns, take a few beers, and binge watch this thriller of a show on WWE Network. That's all we have for today's sports coverage. Back to you, Kristen and Uvie.
So, AD, do you have a prediction on tonight's game?
Absolutely, it's gonna be Texas Tech. Guns up.
Thanks, AD. So how about you, Kristen? Do you think the Red Raiders are going to win it all?
Absolutely. I'm behind them 100%.
Yes, looks like it's going to be an interesting game. That's all for today's edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. Recom Tech.